Yak Gadget, made in America, based outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Yak Gadget offers all kinds of storage accessories, quick mount motor mounts, anchor systems, track mounted accessories, even paddles. Go to yakgadget.com and get your kayak decked out for your next trip out on the water.
The 153 Bait Company, based in Troy, Ohio, make everything from plastics to custom painted hard baits. Hook 'em hard and hook 'em often. All of our baits are made to order and all of our hard baits are hand painted to order. So go to the153anglers.com to place your order today.
To hell and back is in the job description. Being roughed up, scuffed up, run over, kicked, thrown, dropped, dunked, and done the unthinkable is a duty we've embraced for more than 40 years. Through superior engineering and constant innovation, only Pelican has conquered the chaos a life of ambition can dish out. And we've done it to empower you.
Welcome to The Reel Down on Paddle and Fin with your hosts, Dan Perry and Jimmy Skinner, where we talk about everything tournament kayak fishing. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Reel Down on Paddle and Fin. It's Monday, and here we are. What's going on, Jimmy?
Not too much, man. What's up? I feel like I hadn't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I took last Monday off. You know, had to do some secret Mason stuff. Our meetings are on Monday nights. I'll do a little plug for Masons, but yeah, ask what we'll do. But there you go. I didn't mean to. But yeah, every now and then. Our meetings are on Mondays, and I don't go because of this. So it's kind of every now and then I have to go.
Have to show face.
Yeah, I gotta get the secrets.
Yeah. If you don't, we're gonna see you in the middle of a live one day, and somebody's just gonna like snatch you off the screen and dum dum dum.
I get like
It'd be hilarious. It'd be bad, but it'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
So what's up with you, man? You fishing any?
No, not a whole lot. We actually went to. I know you had your Bass Nation Kayak Series, your tournament on Pickwick this weekend, and we went up there just to do a family trip and went up camping. And I was going to take my kid, you know, and my wife to go to the waterfall at Cooper Hollow.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to paddle up there and go see that. You know, there's some bunch of smallmouth in that region, and because he had never caught smallmouth, usually not very big. But yeah, there's usually you can usually catch a couple small ones. I'm not trying to give everybody a spot for the tournament, for the tournaments coming up this year. Don't go to Cooper Hollow because you're not going to catch anything for a tournament. But yeah, there's usually a few in that region.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now I feel bad. I said something. I know somebody's going to be like, "Ooh, I heard Cooper Hollow's the deal. They got a waterfall.
Got the donkeys in there."
Yeah, it'd be full up in the summer. It's going to be full up with pontoons. And you are not going to want to go to Cooper Hollow.
Yeah.
But it rained, so it was, you know, it would have been nice to go to.
Yeah, I checked the forecast, you know, tournament director.
We did too.
No rain. Got on the water, no rain. My phone went off at like 8:38 in the morning. It said, a light rain will set in 5 minutes or whatever. And I was like, it won't be long. You know, 2 hours later, we were soaked. I didn't take any rain gear with me. And it was like just cool enough to where you started to get cold. Like my buddy was with me, he froze. But like, you know, the wind would blow a little bit and you'd like have to like put your feet in the water to warm up and stuff like that. It sucked. I was upset. And then the fishing was meh where we were. I mean, it didn't take too much to win our little event. And honestly, I don't even know where those guys are at. So
I was surprised here. I wrote it down, but it was 82 3/4. Randall Wallace won. He's a hammer, one of those dugout guys. But yeah, I was really surprised it only took that much. I wish I was signed up for it. No,
the one thing I do know is that the fish were bunched up. Apparently, something that we kind of caught all of our fish, and like when you'd find one, you'd find 10. And then he said the same thing. He said that they covered 12 miles, but he caught all of his fish in like 150-yard stretch. Yeah. And the guy that was with him is the guy that got second place, and he like he only missed him by a quarter of an inch. He tracked him down and almost made it happen. It should have been great. It went from the running joke in the States. Randall was runner-up Randall for so long. He was always second, could never break out. And now you can't beat him. It's kind of annoying. So, love you, man.
I'm sure probably a lot of them were caught earlier. Shad spawn too. Yeah, there we go. All right, but while we're here tonight, we have the winners from the Natural State Kayak Anglers. They were on
Table Rock.
I know, yeah, Table Rock. There you go. Yeah, they're a Table Rock Throwdown. Ace of Blades. I saw that. It's like, it's a cool company. Y'all have sponsoring it. Ace of Blades. It's pretty rad. But
Yeah.
it just sounds badass. But yeah, here we go. So we have three first, second, and third place. We have Dwain Batey, Justin Brewer, and Michael Burgess. In no particular order. Ooh. Yeah, Michael got second, Justin got third. All right, so I think I did that right. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks.
Yep, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. And I know, Dwain, you said you've been on Paddle and Fin before, but we'll go ahead and do introductions. We'll start with you, Dwain. Just tell everybody who you are, how you got into kayak fishing, and what you do whenever you're not fishing, I guess.
Well, fishing's everything. So my name's Dwain Batey, and I've been kayak fishing since 2015, and I've been fishing my whole life. So it just kind of transfers. I work for a Catch company that makes the bump boards, you know that. I do custom painting lures for skirmish baits and a few other places, and some social media and things like that.
Cool. And you are totally fishing all the time. There is no outside of fishing stuff then. That's your
Not really. I mean, everything I do is fish related at least.
man.
Well, it's good that you got the fine balance, it sounds like, because a lot of the people I talked to that wanted to get in the industry outside of, like, I want to work in fishing. Once that happens, they don't get time to fish. So you're definitely floating the
that's
line
definitely
the right
a
way.
problem.
Yeah.
The better you do, the more that gets to be a problem for sure.
Mhm.
Cool. Justin, how about you, man? I see that Natural State Kayak Anglers 2020 Angler of the Year there. So
Yep, that was kind of something I've been fishing hard for since I started. I think I started in 2016, I believe. Back before Tourney X and all that stuff, back whenever it was turn your phone in and you had to go through all the pictures. The judges had to go through all the pictures off your phone.
that was last year here. We just got on board.
I'm not kidding. It's so
Really?
sad.
Yeah.
Well, you guys will enjoy Tourney X. Are you guys using Tourney X up there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it makes things a lot easier, a lot smoother and quicker, especially at the weigh-ins. But yeah, I started in 2016 and been trying to get the Angler of the Year title. Is kind of my main goal, and I was barely squeaked by Dwain come the Classic. I think I pulled it out by 2 points, but I was able to get it, and that's something I'll be pretty proud of moving forward. But
watch out, he's got a jump on you this year.
yeah, I know. I missed the first one because I went down to Lake Fork to fish the Bass Nation tournament down there, and the first tournament I had to fish was the MLF style, and that's never. Last year I did all right in it, but that's never been my forte, and this year wasn't any different. Didn't do no good, so I'm having to play catch up the rest of the year. Can't have too many more slip ups.
Gotcha. And what do you do whenever you're not fishing?
I'm just an electrical supply salesman.
Okay.
7 to 4 job, and get off weekends and spend afternoons and weekends fishing most I can.
I'm trying to find your end of that, man. I'm an electrician, and I'm jealous of the guys at the supply house. They just look so chill all the time. They're always drinking coffee and having biscuits, and I'm over here like stressed out and tired.
That's the way to do it. The supply house is the way to go for sure.
See, I'm in purchasing for a construction supply, and I mean we have electrical and everything else. So I buy that, or my buyers buy it, and so I'm on the other side. We're all three ends. We're buy it, sell it,
Put it in.
Install it.
Yeah, all three. That's funny. Michael, how about you, man?
This is my second year of kayak fishing. I've kind of fished all my life. I was boat fishing for a while, then I ended up selling my boat. And my boss is actually who got me into kayak fishing. And last year I got Rookie of the Year through NSKA, and this year I'm coming after the Angler of the Year.
Ooh, I like it.
Dang. And what do you do whenever you're not fishing?
So I'm a project manager for an electrical company. I install CCTV cameras in retail stores.
So now we have the four corners. He's the boss.
Michael's got his eyes on you. Watch out.
He's the guy that catches me every time I break an OSHA violation.
So did all three of you come from the boat side?
I did.
I didn't.
Yes.
I started straight into kayak fishing.
Yeah, okay.
Man, you did great. You missed such a big expense.
Well, that's what, because I started, I think I was 19 or so. So I really didn't have the money to have a fancy bass boat at that point in time. So kayak was the cheapest option and the easiest way to get started in tournament fishing. So that's what I picked up with and enjoyed it ever since.
That's my favorite thing to look back now when I'm like, damn, this is costing me a lot of money. Like, I didn't have a nice high-end bass boat. I mean, I had an older Nitro and everything, but like I still, with I think all of the, last time I added it up, with all the boats I've bought and most of the gear I have, I don't think I ever scratched a dent on that purchase. So for now, I'm doing good.
Well, you're definitely a quick study to win Angler of the Year and such a big club, and to have not fished like me.
Oh, we lost him.
In college and boats and everything for so long. Yeah, that. Oh, am I back?
You're back.
You're back.
Okay, yeah. But I fished on the boat side for so long that it, to be Angler of the Year that quick from, having not bass fish that much, that's awesome, man.
Well, not Angler of the Year, but Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year. There you go. Well, Justin too. I mean, he hasn't been bass fishing that long, I guess.
Yeah.
Some people just have it, man. It kind of blows my mind.
Naturals.
Yeah.
It's still sometimes that you don't get the amount of experience and practice as you can get in a bass boat with running different areas and trying to figure out a pattern. In a kayak, you're kind of limited to, just a couple pockets here and there. So it kind of limits you on how expansive you can learn in a short time period. But I guess you learn to do better map study and pick areas apart when you're there, because you're stuck. I mean, you're not going far. I mean, Dwain goes miles a day according to what he posts. I'm like, man, that he just goes. I try to pick everything I can apart and preserve some energy.
Yeah, especially if you're not one of these motorized guys. I'm guilty. First, it teaches you how to really just break down what you pick. I mean, you can do so much map study, but it still comes down to, all right, this is what I picked. This is what I got to make work.
Yep.
And then it is cool. Like I went from like paddling to pedaling, and you're like, okay, I can go a little further, and then pedaling to a motor. You're like, it's like I can go 12 miles, and that feels like the whole lake now. So it's,
12 miles is a lot. That's a lot of water, really. I mean, you think about it in a kayak for sure to be covering.
I think 12 is the most I've ever done. I hear like Cody Milton and some of these guys. I mean, Dan did a huge one on Logan Martin last year. When I hear some of these guys get into the high teens and 20s, I'm just like, how do you have time to actually cast?
And you can get a line in the water?
Yeah, you trolling. That's what you're doing. You trolling.
Always, I am the worst at getting too far away. I am not in the best shape in the world, but for some reason I'm able to just pedal my ass off, and I just pedal all day, and I will get a long way. Like in our last tournament on Logan Martin this year for Iron City, I don't even know how far I went. I got seventh. I did okay, but man, by the end of it, I was dead.
You'll be amazed at what your legs can do, man. Like I'm not a runner, but like if you take me hiking, like I won't stop, man. I'll just I like going up the mountains and climbing rocks, and it's just like it doesn't wear me out. And then I go try to run a mile around the block, and I'm like dying. What the hell? I don't understand this.
Yeah, I don't either. Cool. So whoever wants to, just kind of, for anybody that hasn't been Table Rock before, anybody want to kind of give us a layout of that lake? I'm the only one that's never been there. I know Jimmy has before.
No, I haven't been there.
Oh, you hadn't? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Table
I've only
Rock's
been there
just
like 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah, I've only been there a few times, but it's a high reservoir lake. I mean, you're looking at a lot of rocks and no vegetation whatsoever. You know, that's majority of the lakes that we have here in this region is just all high reservoir. You got a lot of coves, and it's nothing but rock or your clay and mud shell, stuff.
So does it do with it having a good combination of that? It's not ultra clear, Is it usually have like a good stain to it, or is it a clear lake?
The dam is super clear.
Dam's super clear. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then your riverside's usually got your stain.
I know where I'll be going when I go there.
Yeah, we had kind of a unique situation here because we had just gotten that big rain and it came up 4 feet, and we were only allowed to fish from Shell Knob to Beaver Dam and down the Kings River. And the Kings River was absolutely muddy. And then the other side had cleared up quite a bit. I mean, I would call it clear.
Okay.
So I know that they have all 3 species. How do you know which one to target? I guess that's...
you don't target spots.
Oh, okay. Spots okay.
Yeah, the spots here are not like, on the Coosa River or anything. They're you get like if you catch a 15, 16-inch spot, you got a really good one.
Gotcha. So smallmouth, largemouth, is it just depend on the area or whatever's biting? We target what, I guess?
We don't really target smallmouth unless like on some of these lakes like Beaver or Table Rock, if we weren't allowed to go to the dam. But if you went up by the dam, I guess you could specifically target smallmouth. But basically, we just bass fish, and whichever species you catch, you catch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they're kind of mixed in, The majority of our fish are largemouth, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Aaron, and what phase are they in right now? Is it all post-spawn or?
I'd say it's a mixture of both. There's some that's a spawn, and there's some that are still trying to spawn.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I felt like some of the fish I was getting bites from were pre-spawn or spawning. I mean, still.
Okay, cool.
I'm jealous. We're all over the place down here.
All right, Dwayne, we'll start with you. Did you get to practice any? You said you hadn't fished.
I did not practice. I had intentions to go one day, but they were forecasting that big rain, and I was like, it's not going to be the same anyway, so I'm just wasting my time. So yeah, I just went blind, and I actually went to a place I'd never been on the lake because of where we were allowed to go from Shell Knob down, and then on that side, we had a tournament there 2 years ago, I believe it was, maybe last year. And I got in second, but we could only go out of Beavertown, which is down right by where Beaver Lake comes out. And it's still technically Table Rock, but it's the White River. And so before we could launch from there, we could go as far as we could get back from, but we were limited to that. And this year, to make it a little more interesting, they gave us all the way up to that Shell Knob Bridge, down the White River and down the Kings River. And so because of the clear water coming out of the dam, I chose to go to the Kings River because I thought it would be dirty. And it was very, very dirty.
Why were you looking for stain?
I'm originally from Oklahoma, and I just prefer that over clear water, especially this time of year after they just got through spawning, or, and if there's spawners left, I don't really want to look at them. I'd rather just catch them blind. And so I just felt better with the stained water.
If you paint crankbaits, are you a big crankbaiter? I figured dirty water, cranking.
I am normally, but this time of year, and given what, with the bushes in the water and in front of the bushes where I was at, it dropped off pretty fast. So like the kayak was in like 10 feet. So if it would have been 6 feet where I could throw a square bill in front of it, I would have done it more, but I don't know if I even made a cast with a crankbait at this. I caught an 18-inch smallmouth on like my 5th pitch. of the morning. So that kind of set me in on what I was going to do.
Nice.
Okay. Cool.
Nothing like a quick bite. That just always like
Oh,
knocks
yeah.
the edge off for me.
Small.
Oh yeah. It was an 18-inch smallmouth, and I had pitched in a bush, but I'd already worked it out of the bush, and it was in front of it. And I was not expecting it to be a smallmouth in that dirty water, but I was. That really set the tone and got me settled in, because as much as I'm comfortable fishing dirty water, it's still intimidating, because it's nasty and you're like, man, they're not going to eat. But once you catch one, then you're like, oh yeah, we're going to settle in and do all right.
That's the way I always used to feel about it. And then I realized that I always actually seem to do better when the water's got a lot of color. Like even like red, like when it's just straight mud, I usually can just throw on a spinnerbait or something like that, or a chatterbait, or like, obviously if it's red like that, the water's usually high. I go flipping bushes and stuff like that. I've just got to where I prefer that now.
Seems like whenever it's muddy water, it just like it makes them a little bit more predictable. Like they're going to be tight to cover, things like that, where it's not, especially not getting any practice. I could see you want to go for stained water because
exactly. That was part of the reasoning, was I knew they'd be on the bank, so in the dirtier water, I wouldn't have to, instead of having 0 to 25 feet or whatever, they would be 0 to 10 feet.
Gotcha. Cool.
And I love to fish the banks. I beat them apart. That's definitely I love it. Like I'm telling you, when it rains hard, I'm always like, yes, I can actually catch fish now. Now here's a question.
Hot water's nice too.
Yeah. A question for you is how we kind of already answered it, but to expand on it, when you have a heavy rain and water comes up like that, do you believe that like the day after the rain is the best fishing, 3 days after the rain? Because there's sometimes that after a heavy rain like that, it's just shut down.
Yeah.
Do you have any like thing
it's not
to
a
that?
time frame. It's more of whenever it stabilizes. If it's rising, that's actually okay too for me. Or once it stabilizes is the best. And then once it starts to fall, that can be pretty negative.
Okay.
And the other thing is, if it's really muddy like that, once the debris settles out so that they can breathe,
Yeah.
The actual debris in the water, once that settles to the bottom a little bit so that they're not in a negative state, that seems to help too. So that's probably what you're talking about, that first day or so.
Yeah.
Until that settles
I've
back out.
Some talks with older anglers, and some of them will be like, the day after is my best day. And then I've had some of them where they're like, no, the second day after is the best day. And then basically the third day is when it just all falls apart. But that you had a lot more information with it than they gave me. This was just old men sitting around a tackle shop.
Yeah, no, I don't have any specific time frame. It's just, once that stuff settles out, and then I like rising better than falling.
Okay. I like it.
Justin, how was your practice, man?
I didn't practice either.
Is this going to be all three, y'all? Mike, practice?
Didn't practice.
I guess with the changing conditions,
I actually fished the Moyak, had a Table Rock tournament up there, but I went up to Kimberling City area and I didn't do no good there. But I picked up in the Kings too, hoping I figured the white would be clear, considering it's a major river, but it comes out of the dam, so it's never going to get super dirty, because Beaver Dam, it never dirties up there. It stays green the whole time. So I picked up in the Kings as well, and it was very dirty, a lot of debris. But that's my confidence. Like Broken Bow was the same way. It was super, super muddy, and I did all right there. So I was like, well, I'll try and repeat that. And the water was right. Started throwing a spinnerbait, caught a limit early, and kind of stalled out. Wasn't getting any big bites, just some little fish. And I picked up a wacky rigged Yum Dinger and flipped in there and caught a 16, I think. And the next pitch, hooked another one and lost it. And I was like, well, let me switch up. I was flipping a bigger Texas rig with like a 1/2 ounce to help penetrate the debris and everything. So I put on the smallest weight I could find and Texas rigged a dinger instead, just barely enough to where it would fit to slide through the debris and pull it down. And I think I culled every fish and had 80 inches in one pocket, and then just ran the other 4 pockets I had playing to fish, and was able to pick them apart and pretty much guess every spot a fish was going to be sitting on. That's how predictable they were for me anyways. So nice. I stuck with that, and now we're here. So it worked out.
I need this kind of luck, man. I just don't never. All the cards can play out for me, and I'll get to the water, and something will still happen. It just won't. It won't work.
Well, it's been a while since I've had just a good solid day of like actually knowing, being able to predict, have a solid pattern to catch fish, and not just be trash fishing, throwing everything I could think of to put together 5 fish. So it was nice to actually catch quite a few fish and decent fish at that. I think all mine were males, because every time even the 18.5, I think was a male, because you catch them and get them in the boat and be squeezing them, and they just be peeing that whatever those males do. So I could never find no big females. I don't know kind of what stage they were in, but they're good solid males I was catching, I believe.
I wonder if the females were still held off.
They may have been. It's hard to fish unless you just fish it real slow, but you're not really fishing anything. You're just kind of fishing maybe the old bank line. And I was catching fish up shallow, and I'd rather be flipping those bushes and doing that. That's probably the funnest way to catch fish.
Something some of the guys that are so good in our sport do that time of year is, instead of focusing on, spawning fish, and, they can put their head down and go fish for the staging and pre-spawners and stuff. I cannot. Like, if there's a chance, like it's in the spring, it's terrible. If I get wind that there's a chance I can flip on spawning fish, or the first stage of spawners, and I'm going and doing that,
mm-hmm.
and it'll lose me that tournament probably every time, but it's so much more fun to me.
That's kind of what I've been. Ever since Broken Bow, I haven't done very well. I fished Fall in a tournament, fished Table Rock in a tournament, and not had any luck. And in my mind, I was still trying to fish how Broken Bow fish, and it wasn't that way. They weren't pulling up. The water wasn't right. I was threw off all year, and I think finally it's getting about right to where I like it. So
I think that's kind of, I fished Lake Fork, and everybody knows how they were at Lake Fork, and then I turned around and went to Del Hollow in Tennessee. It was the same thing there. So that's been like stuck in my head, and I can't like shut that switch off. So I completely understand.
Yep. So, I may fish. They're having a tournament over here on Uchi this coming weekend. I may go fish that, hoping it fishes the same. And then we have our next tournament on Beaver Lake South the following weekend. So hopefully those fish will kind of be doing somewhat the same thing. But you never know. It's Beaver Lake too. They could be doing something completely different.
Yeah. I guess just depends if the water is fluctuating.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they're releasing. Did you guys realize that or see any water movement later in the day? Did you notice anything?
Beaver Lake's letting water out, and that's really known for Beaver Lake, is they never stabilize their water. Either it goes up or they're letting water out majority of the year, every year.
Because there was a point in there to where all the debris was kind of up against the bank, and then I'd say afternoon, it all kind of pulled to the middle and looked like it was coming out of the pockets, and it kind of messed my bite up a little bit. So I had to go change up.
I had the same problem.
So I figured maybe Table Rock had opened or Beaver had opened or something. Some kind of water movement started at that point.
Well, Michael, how about you, man? You did practice.
Nope. I will say, if you count fishing the Moeyak Table Rock tournament a couple of weeks ago as practice, then I did that too. I ended up 10th place in that tournament, and I caught my PB kayak fish that tournament. It was 20 3/4.
Nice.
Congrats, man.
That girl, that was definitely a pre-spawner. She was fat, but this one, I didn't practice. I didn't really have a game plan. So I decided to kind of just go back to the same area that I fished in the Moeyak tournament. And the pattern was completely different. I spent my first hour and a half, 2 hours without a single bite. And then my first keeper was 10 3/4. And I caught like 2 or 3 on a jig. And that's what I caught everything on my Moyak tournament 2 weeks ago. And I decided to change things up and went on to the other side where it was shallower and pulled out a spinnerbait. And within 5 minutes, I already had 3 fish and culled my first one. And I was like, well, that's enough for me to know that that's what I need to start keeping with. And that's what I threw for basically the majority of the rest of the tournament.
You can't hate a day of spinnerbait.
No. I culled every single fish that I caught.
No, I love, like, it's one of those things. I hear a lot of guys talk, I don't throw spinnerbait. I don't, because everybody gets on the chatter craze, which has its place, in my opinion, in different situations. But there's just something about a hot spinnerbait bite because they just wreck it. Like, there's no soft spinner. It's kind of like a buzzbait. There's no soft buzzbait bite. If there is, I've never had one. And typically I've had soft frog bites, but I've never had a soft buzzbait bite.
Yeah, when they hit it, they hammer it.
They just go for it, man. Especially in muddy water. Like Chris Marks was saying it in the comments, you can't beat the reaction my mouth died. You can't beat that reaction bite in the muddy water.
What was weird is the area I started in, it was a lot muddier. And as I went around the bend up towards where this creek fed into, the water was clearer. And I had about 1.5 foot of visibility. And that's, I think, is really where they were moved up. I don't think that they were really in that muddier water for me where I was at.
Nice. What's your go-to spinnerbait setup?
This one I was throwing a War Eagle. It's a 3/4 ounce, and it was the white with a couple black strands in it.
Nice. And rod and reel, you got a?
Yeah, I was throwing. I got a Corrado DC on a G Loomis NRX rod.
Ooh.
Oh, what's up, big money?
I found that on a deal.
He stole it. Nice. I ain't got that kind of money. I got the Corrado. I can't front that kind of rod money. Go buy me like 6 ugly sticks.
I found that rod for $350.
That still sounds a little bit outside my range.
Yeah, no, it was just too cheap to let go.
No, I remember went to the Classic Expo when the Classic was on Gunnersville last year, right before COVID. They had all these big signs up at one of these booths about all the G Loomis on sale. I was like, hell yeah, I can afford them. No, they were still like $500. I was like, they can't be that good.
I'll tell you what, that Bassmaster was like a week before COVID happened. I wonder how many people got COVID at the Bassmaster Expo.
I know a lot, like G-Man, Gerald Swindle, him and his wife left sick from that. And they said it was the flu. Like, there was a bunch of the people like shaking everybody's hands and stuff that left sick. I was fine. I was there 3 days in a row.
I was there, but yeah, we did. Me and Sam did the podcast from there, live at it, and yeah, I'm lucky I didn't get COVID there because they were giving away buckets too. Yeah,
well, everybody was still like, we were all at that point still making fun of COVID, like touching everybody and all that stuff, and then like all hell broke loose like 2 weeks later.
It was in March, so I think it was like a week later they shut everything down. Yeah. All right, Dwayne. So you were flipping and pitching. Tell us more about that, man. What's your setup?
Yeah. So I was throwing a Big Bot Baits BFE.
Ooh. Is it really that good? I have a pack, but I've never tied it on.
Okay, listen. I just bought those. This is the first place I've ever pitched it, so I'm pretty sold on it now. But I literally, that was, 5 pitches in, I caught that 18-inch smallmouth. So, and then I won this tournament on it. So,
I watched videos on it being made, and I mean, it had me sold on it. And I probably have more in one pack. I'm sure I got a few. I'm kind of a hoarder.
I'm going to get some 25 or 100 packs now. So, but yeah. I was throwing that with a Trocar TK 130 4-aught hook and a 3/8 ounce tungsten weight. That was the only fish that I caught in a bush or near a bush. Well, I say that. That's the only fish in my final 5 that was out of a bush or near a bush. the rest of them, like Justin mentioned, I found the same thing about those mats of debris. It's just like wood chips, basically. And that 3/8 ounce weight would go through it just fine. You know, it wouldn't punch, but, you know, you get it on there and just shake it a little bit and go through. And the first one of those I found, I caught a fish that was, I don't know, it wasn't one of my 18s. I think I called it later, but I caught a 16 something. And then I measured him, took his picture, let it go, pitched right back in the same spot and caught another one. Almost exactly like it. And so now I've got 3. And since there was 2 in there, I'm like, that might be a thing. So I better go look for some more. So I pitched a few more bushes and didn't get bit. I'd already fished, you know, another 100 yards without a bite in the bush other than that, the smallmouth, but that was kind of a fluke. I think that was probably a point. He was on a point with wind blowing on it. I think he was just up there. So the rest of these bushes didn't seem to be the deal. So I started going faster and just looking for these debris mats. And then the next one I found, I pitched up there and I caught one of my better fish on it. And just around the corner from that was the back of a tiny little pocket, and the whole back of it was debris. And so I just pulled the kayak up in there and just picked it apart for a while. And I kept seeing little swirls that were like making little holes in the debris mat, you know, just like it would just open up with a little 6-inch hole. And I kept watching it, and then I figured out what it was. It was a shad spawn under those. They were literally spawning and on that. That's why they were in that so well. Oh, so after that, that's just what I stuck with the rest of the day, was just pitching those. And
so they were spawning on the floating mats.
Yeah, that wood, they were putting their eggs on that wood. So the bass were under there eating them.
There you go.
Well, that's awesome.
I was going to ask if you knew why they were on them mats, but there you go.
That's why, because, you know, at first I didn't really expect it because it was cloudy. You know, it was sprinkling a little bit and stuff. It had stormed that morning before we started. And, you know, without the sun up, you wouldn't really expect them to be under there, but that's why they were under there eating those shad. And then I was throwing a black and blue bait. You'd think I would have needed a white one, but I guess it really didn't matter as long as they were that active under there.
That's definitely something I need to work on more, is understanding the shad spawn and like where. Like, I watch videos of Jacob Wheeler, and when shad spawn's going on, that man goes, finds it, and just wears them out like that. He did it all last year, like every tournament they hit, because you know they kind of like follow the curve of the spawn through the country.
Yeah.
And every tournament, that's where he went in the morning. He went searching for shad spawn, and that's just something I haven't quite started to learn yet.
It's one of those things where if you have a late start or anything, if when the sun's coming up normally and there's no clouds or whatever, you literally only have 30 to 45 minutes. It's kind of hard in the kayak sometimes because it may take you that long to get where you're wanting to go. Yeah. So it's a little more difficult than for us not being able to run a big motor to get to it.
It'll aggravate you for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't look into this then.
and sometimes
I've already got enough stress.
Sometimes it'll go a little bit longer if you can find some shade, or like you start on one side of the bank, and then after a shad spawn's done on that side, then you can go to the other side that still has a little bit of shade on it, and just try to extend that out a little bit in the morning. But if you miss that morning bite, you're done.
It needs to be part of your pattern, not the whole thing usually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm getting all sorts of good information today. I like this.
Yeah, there you go. Whole shad spawn show. I like it. This is like maybe my favorite time of year to fish, because I love to fish a swim jig. I mean, flipping and pitching, that's great. We had a tournament recently on Smith, and it flooded, and I thought they were going to be in the bushes. Same thing, and they were not. I guess I don't know what happened with that tournament, but they did not go to the bushes. But That's why I told my buddy. I told my buddy Chuck, it's flooded. I'm going to the bushes. It's Smith. That's where they're at. They were not there. I don't know where they were at. That
I haven't put any time on Smith. It's deep. It's clear. It's just not my cup of tea.
That's one thing I haven't thrown yet. Is I've never thrown a swim jig.
I highly recommend it.
If anybody's watching, watch the Randy Howell. He has power swimming a jig. I've watched all the YouTube videos, and on a swim jig, Greg Hackney has a lot of them. That's great. But if you want to get that Alabama Shake video and learn about a swim jig, that has to be the best video out there. So definitely watch that. Randy Howell swim jig. That's a great video.
That's one of my new favorite things to throw is a swim jig. I've thrown one for a few years, but last year I really started throwing it a lot and figuring out the intricacies of it.
Yeah.
Something I was just in the last year or two that I've picked up on is like I love throwing like underspins and like Kitex and belly weighted and stuff like that, and I always start there. And if I feel like I'm either not getting a lot of bites or not getting quality bites, I'll swap to the swim jig just for that, like, because I like throwing the Hack Attack, the Greg Hackney, big old thick 1/2 ounce jig. It's got a giant hook on it and big skirt, and I don't know, it seems to work. It's not like I still haven't got like 100% confidence in it, but I can usually, like, if it's like small fish or catching a bunch of like little spots, I can usually swap over to that big swim jig, and then you'll start catching some decent numbers and size. But definitely pick it up. I was completely like, no, I don't need a swim jig. I can swim other things. And then I finally got a few of them, and it's all right.
It's usually a little bit more 4x4, like you can go anywhere with it. But we had somebody on not too long ago, because I always throw like, more of a flapping crawfish style, something like that. That's usually where I go with it. But we had somebody on not too long ago. I know the Tactical Bass and those guys, they prefer the Dirty Jigs California swim jig, and they throw the big swim baits on it, and then you don't have to shake it. So that's something I haven't even gotten into myself, because I'm usually Rage Menace, something like that.
See, I'm the opposite. Like I don't do the crawls on swim jigs. Like and I can't seem to figure out the cadence on the Alabama Shake. I'll have line dancing all over, and I can't.
Wow.
Go ahead and shake it for us, Dan.
I'm sorry.
I'm getting too old to shake that thing all the way back. I just shake it when I get close to an object or something.
Yeah. I love watching videos. Like, probably one of my favorite people to watch do it's Dustin Connell.
Yeah.
Because
me and him,
that glass rod. Like,
I see him in the academy here. Like we live right, he doesn't live far from me, but it's if you're on the Coosa River, you have to be throwing a swim jig. It's just.
I love that man still fishes the all the local stuff around when he's in town. He goes and hits like the Tuesday night derbies and stuff. So there's a solid chance he's still going to take your money out there on the local level.
Yeah. But also another one, a lot of people don't throw a toad on there too. That's if you're trying to keep it way, way up, that's kind of a Coosa River deal here. If you're fishing around mats and things like that, and you really want to keep it high in the water column, like instead of just throwing a lighter one, like a quarter or something, even I guess you can go lighter in that. I don't throw anything lighter, but put a toad on the back, that works too.
I can't remember who it was we had on that was I can't remember where they were, but I think you do it too. He was talking about you can actually take the small swim jigs and throw them on the pads and then just pop them off the pad and let them just dead drop. And sometimes that gets one heck of a bite too.
It's so versatile. Yeah, that's great, back, but we'll move on. All right, Justin, man. So you were saying you were catching them, man. How were you catching them again?
I pretty much the same way Dwayne was. I was using a smaller weight than a 3/8. I think I was using a 3/16 ounce, actually, as light as I could possibly go. And
but with a Cinco, so it was a little.
Yeah, it was a Texas rigged Yum Dinger, black and blue. But yeah, whenever I caught that one on the wacky, I fit because like I said, I was fishing a creature bait on a Texas rig, but with a 1/2 ounce, trying to penetrate the stuff, and I got maybe 2 bites, and I made one pitch with that wacky worm. I was like, okay, maybe they want something falling a little bit slower, so I got a rod, rigged it up, and think 2 pitches in, I caught one, and then later on I caught another one. So I was like, okay, it must be the deal. So I just kept that in my hand the rest of the day. Well, I say that I tried to throw a spinnerbait when the wind picked up, but spinnerbait wasn't working. So maybe if I would have thrown a creature bait, something a little bit more bulkier, I may have got some bigger bites, but that one was working. So I was like, well, I'll stick with it. Maybe I can get lucky and come across one big one, but the big ones avoided me. So
Well,
still
beat a lot of people.
Still fun. I figured going to the weigh-in, I was like, well, 85.5. I bet you maybe I squeak in the top 10, 7th or 8th. But that was 85, or 85.5, 85.5, 85, 84 something. I mean, it was right there close.
Yeah, y'all were. It was all, so I got the numbers right here. Dwain was 89 3/4. Michael, you were right on him with 88 1/4. Then a little bit of a gap between you and Justin, and then like Justin said, I mean, it stayed tight all the way down through 8th place. And then I mean, heck, even once you get past 8th place, they were all right on each other.
After the Moyak, I thought there was going to be at least 3 people hit 90, so I wasn't even sure I was going to be in the top 5.
That's crazy.
Somebody's asking, whenever you were flipping the mats, were you flipping with braid or straight fluoro?
I probably went a lot lighter than I should have. I had a jig and my bigger Texas rig on my 20 and 17 pound fluorocarbon. All I had left was 15 pound. So I tied it on that, and I would just hit them with 15 pound. And I didn't have a problem. Never broke off. Made sure I retied, felt my line. But those fish, you could feel them rubbing the bushes, rubbing the logs, and that line held up. I pinned my 18.5, the biggest fish I caught. She was behind a bush. My kayak wouldn't stop. The wind was blowing me out. And I hooked her. She took off, and I had to pin her up against the tree with her mouth hanging halfway out of the water as I'm getting my paddle, trying to paddle myself backwards, get my net, and just all I can do to get her under the net. And then I just broke my line to pull her to me and make sure she didn't get off. But
it's tough to flip with too big a. I mean, if you're throwing a Senko or a Dinger, you can't throw it on like 20. It's tough to do anyways, unless you have like a 6-inch or something. But
it was just a 5-inch, so I mean, 15 pound worked fine for me. I don't know about you, Dwayne.
I went the other way. I was throwing 65 pound braid with a 20 pound leader. So mine, and I had to replace when I'm pitching braid to leader for that, I use like a 16 or 18-inch leader, and I had to tie a new one like 3 or 4 times because I'd find a bad nick in it. So that stuff was pretty bad, but I'm sure you had to retie too some with that smaller line, I'm sure.
I retied just to make sure. I didn't want to. I didn't want to break. Just there's been that one big fish. I'd try to set the hook and snap her off.
Yep.
I didn't want that to happen, so I always probably about after every fish catch that I cold, I would retie just to make sure.
And what's y'all's fluoro of choice?
That was the Sunline Abrase X is what I was using.
I think I was using P-Line. What is theirs called? The tactical fluorocarbon. Yeah. As long as it's one of the premium, either Sunline or Invisex,
Cigar
or whatever. Yeah. As long as it's one of the high end ones, I really don't have a preference.
I use Invisex.
Yeah, same. They're all good. Sunline, Cigar. I mean, it's hard to argue with any of those.
It's really a preference thing, I think. I think they're all, like, the more I mess around with it, I think they're all good. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them, honestly.
Especially flipping and pitching. Now, when I'm cranking, I want that Invisex. It's just smoother, you know. And the Sunline's okay for cranking too, but Invisex is my favorite for crankbaits.
Yeah, I think that's the main difference in the lines, especially getting to the bigger sizes. The cheaper lines want to coil up and hold their memory too bad. But I started tying a new knot, and ever since I started doing that, I don't have any problems with break-offs. Like shaky heads for sure on 8-pound test, I'd always break off a lot, but I don't have a problem now with the new knot that I've started tying. So I think that was my biggest problem.
Which knot is it?
I don't know what it's called. I saw Jason Christie tie it one time. He just doubles it up through the eye, and then it's just a fisherman's knot at that point. You just double it, then twist it 5 times back to itself, and you have the loop, and the tag in. You just cut them all 3. And that holds for
that's
me.
the snail knot, isn't it?
No,
I don't think it's a snail.
Not the snail.
I don't know.
I don't know what it's
San Diego
called.
Jane? Is that what it is? Or something like that.
I don't even know if
That
there's a
might
name
be
for it.
Yeah, it's got a name. I can't remember it either, but I know which one you're talking about. It's got 3 tag ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I can't
That's
remember
what
the name
Swindle
either.
uses too. I've heard him talk about it.
That's
All
what I
right,
tie.
well, wait, we've been going a while. We don't want to hold y'all up too long. We appreciate your time and you being on. But before we let you go, we always want to give everybody a chance to shout out anybody that makes fishing easier for you. Michael, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, I got to thank my wife and my family. They really help me out with my kids on the times that I go fishing tournaments, or if I need to practice or something. They help watch my children and give me the opportunity to go outdoors.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Justin?
I got to shout out to Yum and Booyah, of course. They're my primary bait company, and I've been with them for a while now, and they do me right, and I'm glad I chose them. I found starting on, not to drag on, but I wanted to just find somebody to work with, just to have a bait company, but it's better to put in the time with somebody that you like and use their baits and put in the time with them, sharing their stuff, let them know, and then get in that way than to just find somebody and just because they'll let you on the team. You want to have somebody that you're proud to represent their stuff because they make good quality stuff. But yeah, shout out to them because their baits, Covert Series spinnerbait, that's kind of been my go-to with Booyah. But yeah, that's kind of my shout out here.
And that Christie critter, I'll throw a shout out to that. That's an underrated bait. That's a dang good bait.
Actually, over here on this side of me, where it's at right there, at Atkins last year, I won that tournament flipping a Christie critter.
All right. Cool. And Dwayne, how about you, man?
Mostly my wife for letting me do all this, and also Catch Products and Catch Outdoors, Dakota Lithium, Eagle Claw Trocar, ONTC, of course, Hobie Kayaks, and my newest sponsor, Bass Mafia.
Ooh, the Mafia. They got some good
Nice.
stuff.
They do.
I like they have the one where all the jerk baits fit in it. Whatever.
Yeah, the one with the tubes.
Oh yeah, that's legit.
Yeah, that's pretty cool bait. Pretty cool holder.
Cool. Well, we appreciate y'all, and good luck the rest of the year, and I'm sure we'll have you back for too long. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, let's talk about these other tournaments. Got a bunch of them here, and hopefully my internet holds up. Apparently, it's a little funky at night. You pay for the good stuff, and you just never know.
Dude, I'm telling you, I feel you, dude. I've paid for good internet now, and I have way more trouble out of this.
Yeah. Mine's usually great. I can't complain. My wife's probably out there watching something. All right, first we had the kayak anglers in Northeast Ohio. They were on Mogador Reservoir. Sounds like Moldor, or the wherever Lord of the Rings place.
Mordor.
Yeah, there you go. 41 anglers, 3 fish limit. Eric Ortapan and first with 48.75. Dennis Simmons and Jay Jordan with 45 3/4. Central Carolina kayak anglers, they were on Falls Lake, 55 anglers. Joey Sullivan won that one with 88.5. Mark Phillips in second with 84 1/4, and Jacob Miles in third with 80 3/4. The big one, All-American, the big high dollar one this week, and they were on KBN if you want to listen to that. All-American Kayak Series, they had their Road Runner, 59 anglers. Mike Dent, 92.5. Sam Young in second with 87, and John Stickley with 86 3/4. Kayak anglers at Eastern Pennsylvania on Merrill Creek Reservoir, 32 anglers. Dylan Cup with 56.5. Corey Ziegler, second with 53 1/4, and Chris Torngon with 52.5. Moyak, they were on Lake of the Ozarks. I didn't get how many anglers, but first place was Mike Dent, 92.5. I think it was 100 and some. That was the largest, biggest turnout of the week. Definitely over 100. Brock Van Tassel in second with 88.5, and third was Sam Young with 87. Bluegrass kayak bass fishing on Barron River Lake, 34 anglers. Drew Russell, 79. Todd Nick McGuire with 79 as well, and Jay Wallen in third with 76.5. Way out west, you had Oregon kayak bass fishing on Doriana Lake, 41 anglers. Richard Childs with 90.5. Taylor Hicks in second with 85.5, and William Eshelman with 83 3/4. And last but not least, SoCal anglers on Lake Sutherland, 46 anglers. Johnny Baynard with 89, Rick Summerfruit with 87.5, and James O'Connor with 85 inches. Congratulations to all of them. And here we go. The tournaments of the week, there's a lot of them. It's full-on tournament season now, and
kayaking still blowing up, man. There's so many tournaments going on. I love it.
It's crazy. Like in states, there's so many. I mean, you have these guys where a lot of times they get double dip between Natural State and Moyak. That's the whole, that area, the Midwest, all over. It's crazy right now.
I always say I was gonna start fishing more. Like I fished one of the Coleman kayak angler events. I need to come down there and fish one of y'all's events.
Yeah.
Where are y'all at again? You said Lay Lake?
Lay Lake, yeah.
I haven't fished there since I was 15.
It's the devil. That out of all the Coosa River lakes, it's easily my least favorite. And my mother-in-law lives on it. You think I'd love it. I've spent the most time on it, but it just doesn't, I don't know. Never happens for me. I'm just trying to scrape up some AOY points. It ain't going to be good, but
you got it this weekend. You gonna come in with 67 inches, 67 and 3 fish. It's all gonna be spots.
I'll be shaking that swim jig all day. I know that. Yeah. All right, y'all. Appreciate it, and we'll see y'all for too long. For too long. I don't know why I said that, but we'll definitely see you next week. Next Monday.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll be here again. But I appreciate y'all. Yeah, be safe. Wear your PFDs.
Good night.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com